right, well, it is 6:30, so we are going to go ahead and get started here. We do, as I mentioned, have a large crowd this evening, so we are going to ask folks to remain muted. If you have questions, you can type them in the chat. We'll save time at the end for questions. We are recording tonight's program, so I will send out an email to the link once it is available on our YouTube channel. So you'll be able to rewatch if necessary. I sent out an email with the link and also with the handouts for this evening's program. And I will send those out again along with the link to tonight's survey at the end of the program. If you can take a few moments to fill that out and let us know how we did. We also like to hear if you have suggestions for other topics you would like to see programs on. We get some of our best ideas that way. And of course, we want to offer programs that you're interested in. That said, I do want to mention a couple of upcoming programs. The first one that I want to mention is Composting 101, Turning Waste into Garden Gold. An experienced gardener, Miriam Tata, is going to be joining us on Thursday night at our South Independence branch as well as on Zoom. So this is a hybrid program. You can choose whether you want to attend in person at our South Independence branch at 7 or join us virtually. If you're registering to attend online, you do need to register with an email in order to be able to receive that Zoom link. But she's going to be talking all about what composting is, how you can get started, the different methods that are out there. So it should be a very informative program. On Sunday at 2 p.m. at our Woodneath Auditorium, we have a flamenco group that is going to be performing. They'll be doing kind of a multimedia performance, sharing not only the songs and dance, but also the history behind it. So that should be a very exciting show. That one is in person, and since it starts at 2 p.m., you can come and still be home in time to watch the Chiefs later. On January 28th at 7 p.m., we're going to be joined by Annette Bohanec for a program, Comics to Classics. She'll be talking about films, comics from the 40s and 50s that were turned into films. And since our theme for our winter reading challenge this year is works of art, we thought highlighting some classic comics was a great way to go. And then on February 4th at 6:30 on Zoom, we're going to be joined by art historian Janet Mandel, who will be sharing all about Faith Ringgold, who's an artist, author, educator, and organizer. She's probably most well known for her story quilts like the one that's pictured here. But she's a fascinating woman, and that will be kicking off our celebration of Black History Month. To go along with that in February, we have Andrew Gustafson, who's the curator of the Johnson County Museum, who will be presenting Redlined: Cities, Suburbs, and Segregation. His talk is based off of an exhibit that the Johnson County Museum had about 2 years ago now, but it'll look at the systemic disinvestment of some neighborhoods and people in favor of others on the basis of race and how that shaped cities and suburbs, particularly here in Kansas City. And then finally, We have author Michelle Brooks, who will be coming for 4 programs on February 21st and 22nd. She'll be discussing a book she wrote, Tuskegee Airmen from Lincoln University of Missouri. So this is a group of pre-World War II civilian pilot training program that was held at Lincoln University in Jefferson City. So it was the first program exclusively for Black pilots west of the Mississippi. And she'll be sharing stories of the students and professors who were part of that first ever group. That one is both in person at 4 locations, and then on the evening of the 21st, that program is a hybrid program. So that is at our Midwest Genealogy Center as well as on Zoom. So we hope you'll join us for some of those upcoming programs. I'm going to stop sharing my screen here and have Lindsey share her screen so that we can get started with this evening's program. But I'd like to welcome Lindsey Robinson with the North Kansas City Hospitals, and she's here to tell us all about eating the Mediterranean way. So let's welcome Lindsey, and I'll let you get started.
Hello, thank you. I'm gonna click the wrong button real quick. Oh. Good. How do you know how to turn off subtitles? I don't know why it's doing that. Okay, I think that worked. Okay, perfect. Yes, my name's Lindsey. I am one of the registered dietitians at North Kansas City Hospital, and I'm really excited to talk to you guys tonight more about the Mediterranean diet and eating the Mediterranean way. And you guys will be getting this whole PowerPoint along with the great information in here to reference back after this, because there's a lot of good recipe links to check out. So a little bit about the Mediterranean diet. It is based on the traditional eating habits in the 16 countries that border the Mediterranean Sea. It's very natural, focuses on minimally processed foods. So a good rule of thumb here, it's less than 5 ingredients in a packaged item. It's very flexible, so you get a plan for variety by eating different foods each week. And it's nice because it's healthy for the whole family. Really just general healthy eating, ages 2 and up. Lower cost, so you do save money at the grocery store by buying less red meat, refined grains, desserts, and fast food each month. And we'll talk about just how to make it lower cost as well throughout the presentation. And overall benefits, prevents heart disease and stroke, reduces risk factors such as obesity, diabetes, high cholesterol, and high blood pressure. We're going to be diving a lot more into what the Mediterranean diet looks like, but in a general sense, it's really high in produce, like your fruits and vegetables, whole grains, beans, legumes, nuts, seeds, olive oil, has moderate amounts of dairy and eggs, fish and poultry, and less red meat, focuses on minimally processed foods and a lot more plant-based options. Wine may be consumed in moderation, low to moderate amounts, and fruits a common dessert instead of sweets. And then I just kind of wanted to compare the Mediterranean diet versus our typical American Western diet. A typical American Western diet tends to be high consumption of processed foods, sugary beverages, red meats, saturated fats, more of our processed, simple, or refined carbohydrates. It tends to be low on the fiber side, low in vitamins, low in minerals, but it's become the dietary norm in just many industrialized countries due to the convenience of fast food and packaged meals. Tends to be really affordable, easy to access, but unfortunately, it is linked to several chronic health issues and increased risk of chronic diseases such as obesity, diabetes, and heart disease. And so really kind of when you're looking at these two different ways of eating, they're pretty drastically different. So you can do the Mediterranean diet, very healthy, or, to make it maybe a little bit more realistic for your style of eating and your routine, just take a little bit from the Mediterranean diet and incorporate it into the American Western diet, because that's still going to provide you different benefits. So just any little bit you can pick and choose from it is still fantastic. So we will be going through 8 great ways that you can incorporate the Mediterranean diet into your lifestyle, and just to get to know a little bit more about it. So load your plate with lots of vegetables, make the most of whole grains, enjoy fruit for dessert, eat more seafood and less meat and poultry, eat legumes often, replace saturated fats with healthy fats, eat dairy foods and eggs in moderation, and choosing beverages that are good for you. So that loads your plate with lots of vegetables. Vegetables are really the star of the Mediterranean diet because they're packed full of fiber, vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants. And the great thing is there's so many different ones to choose from. You can't go wrong. They're all good for you. And that's why the goal is we want to eat a variety to get the most benefit. So not just to stick with kale or just stick with broccoli or just stick with zucchini. Get a variety of all of it because they all have different vitamins, minerals, fiber, and antioxidants. Plus, it prevents burnout. And it can be fresh vegetables, it can be frozen, it can be canned. If you're doing the canned option here, I would recommend getting the no salt added, or just get your regular can of green beans or corn and just rinse them off with water. So anywhere you can include vegetables, whether that's in snacks and or meals, the better. But there's 2 different categories or 2 different types of vegetables. You have your starchy vegetables, and then you have your non-starchy vegetables. The starchy vegetables are your peas, corn, potatoes, and your winter squash as well, like acorn squash, butternut squash, spaghetti squash. Your starchy vegetables, these are going to provide you with more carbohydrates. It's more of your complex carbs, which are your more nutritious carbs, just because it has more nutrients, fiber. And then you have your non-starchy vegetables like lettuce, tomato, cucumbers, broccoli, cauliflower, spinach, carrots, bell pepper, zucchini, so on and so forth. Anything besides those starchy vegetables automatically mean it's a non-starchy. So these tend to be low in carbohydrates, but really all your vegetables are good for you. We still want that variety. It's just some give you carbs, some don't. Those non-starchy vegetables, we do want to have more larger portions of these just to keep you full and help control portions in other food groups. And we'll be talking more about portions as well. So just kind of some tips on how to do this a little bit more. Take a chance on a vegetable you've never tried. Whether you check a farmer's market for locally grown vegetables. You could always keep vegetables washed and ready for easy snacking, speedy meal prep, or just to munch on while dinner cooks. You could always saute tender greens like spinach, chard, beet greens with onion and garlic, whether that's the powder or the fresh onion and garlic. You get a lot more flavor. Sometimes if you have like the pre-minced garlic or some chopped up onions. And then just add some more flavor, toss it with some vinegar, red pepper flakes, lemon juice, sesame oil, or Parmesan. You could also maybe lightly coat chunks of vegetables with oil, and you can roast them, you could grill them, definitely go crazy with the herbs and spices, saute them, can't go wrong. You could always add green peas, lima beans, or chopped greens to soups. You can even make a really easy, tasty squash or carrot soup if you have a blender. And then just adding leftover vegetables to an omelet, whether you already just scrambled up some eggs, throw some leftovers in there, maybe make a breakfast hash, anything like that. My favorite one is make a meal out of a large salad. It doesn't have to be a salad with just lettuce, tomato, cucumber, and dressing. You can really make it a whole meal. So adding more vegetables, beans, nuts, and seeds. I love to add frozen peas on a salad, canned black beans, maybe some dried fruit, sunflower seeds, hummus, boiled eggs. Can't go wrong. So make that a whole meal. So we mentioned antioxidants a little bit, and we'll continue to reference them. So I think it's important just to kind of understand what antioxidants are. I feel like it's something we hear a lot about with anti-inflammatory eating because the Mediterranean diet provides us with those benefits. But antioxidants are compounds found in plant foods, like your fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, whole grains, and our poultry and fish. And there's actually hundreds to thousands of different types of antioxidants. The most familiar ones are vitamin A, vitamin C, and vitamin E. But some of the other ones you maybe have never really heard of before include selenium, manganese, glutathione, coenzyme Q10, lipoic acid, flavonoids, phenols, polyphenols, phytoestrogens, and many more. And so evidence does show us that antioxidant supplements don't work as well as the naturally occurring antioxidants in our foods. So instead of just taking a vitamin C supplement, you would want to eat an orange because you're getting a lot of other benefits besides just that single vitamin C, like fiber and other phytoestrogens. And that's why we want that variety, because not one fruit or vegetable will have all these different ones. So to get that hodgepodge, because like you'll get a lot of vitamin E in your nuts, but oranges will have more vitamin C. So there's that variety. Also mentioning fiber a lot, just because fiber does so much for us. It's going to help lower our LDL cholesterol, lower our blood pressure, promote bowel regularity, balances blood sugars, keeps us full, helps with weight loss. So we want to do those high fiber foods frequently, which really come from everything plant-based. So those whole grains, beans, legumes, fruits, and vegetables. So you don't need to count your fiber. As long as you're kind of incorporating more of those foods, the better. But the recommendation here is about 35 grams a day for men, 25 grams a day for women. This is a very subjective number. Some people need less, some people need more, just depending on what they can tolerate. But I wouldn't start eating high fiber all of a sudden. We want to gradually increase that fiber, staying active, drinking plenty of water, just so your body can adjust to that. The second tip is make the most of those whole grains. Whole grains are a big staple of the Mediterranean diet. Not only are they tasty, but they provide us with important vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and fiber. Our specific vitamins here will be our B vitamins and iron. So some whole grain options here could be whole wheat pasta, whole grain bread, whole wheat English muffin, brown rice, quinoa, oats, amaranth, barley, buckwheat, millet, a lot of grains, that so on and so forth. A lot of grains that maybe we've never heard of here in the American diet, but there's a lot of great, fascinating ones from all over the world. And plus, not like those starchy vegetables, your whole grains are a source of complex carbs. We do need carbohydrates since the primary function is to provide energy for our body and our brain, nervous system. And greater intake of whole grains compared to our more refined grains like white bread, white pasta, white rice can reduce the risk of heart disease and diabetes, and both are associated with cognitive decline. So definitely wanting to make the switch to more of those whole wheat, whole grains if we can. But marketing can be very misleading on knowing if this is an actual whole grain or not. So the best way to know is you look at the ingredient list. And you want that first word to be whole, whether that be whole wheat, whole grain, same thing. That first word, if it says enriched or refined, that's like a white bread, a white pasta, or a more processed product. So you can still enjoy those because the nutrition recommendation is make half your grains whole grain. So if you want to do some oatmeal for breakfast and you want to have some white rice at dinner, there's that perfect 50-50. But the more you can make the switch, just the more nutrients in the whole grains. So it's kind of some tips on how to do this. Cook and enjoy that intact whole grain more often. You could do grain-based salads with quinoa. Quinoa does really well hot, like brown rice, or does really well cold. So you would cook it like normal, put it in your fridge, serve it cold on a salad. Farro, millet, or spelt. You could always do grain-based bowls, like kind of a Chipotle bowl with quinoa or brown rice. You could always add them to your soups too, with barley, wild rice, millet, farro, wheat berries. So eating fewer of those refined grains, like the bagels, biscuits, cereals, crackers, muffins, pancakes, white pasta, pretzels, tortillas, white rice, and white bread. A lot of these foods, they have both options. So pasta, you have the whole wheat versus the white. Same thing with the rice. There's whole wheat tortillas, white tortillas. So it's not all just the same. With like quinoa and oatmeal, there's only one option. That's the whole grain option. And the reason this is important too is when grains go through that refining process, the vitamins, minerals, protein, fiber, and antioxidants are removed. There's a law passed many years ago that required them to add some of those important things back into our products, but not all of it. And because of this, those refined grains tend to be less filling and making it easier to overeat. And so one of the main things that does not get added back in is that fiber. And below you can kind of see on the left, like that's a good picture of a quinoa salad. Uh, and then on the right is a soup with some barley. Some other tips here is to eat those refined grain desserts and snacks less often and in smaller portions. So, to say that we're never going to enjoy these foods again is just silly because we don't have to have a perfect diet to be healthy. And I still want you to enjoy all foods. So it's just maybe less of the time, not every day, all the time. But kind of some tips here to help with this could be limit the treats you bring into the house, eating small desserts slowly and savoring each bite, enjoying more fruit for snacks and desserts, and then save those high calorie sweets for special occasions, and eating a healthy, balanced diet most of the time. And that's our third tip, enjoy fruit dessert for dessert. So this is something really common they do over there. And because fruits are packed full of vitamins, minerals, and fiber, another great source of antioxidants here. And like the vegetables, we want a variety for fruits, just to give us all the different benefits. And there's great options in the fresh, frozen, dried, or canned, all nutritious. But on the fruits, canned, you want to get them canned in water, not in all those heavy syrups. That can be hard to find sometimes. So your next best option would be getting canned in its juice and just draining it. Plus, the natural sweetness of the fruit makes it a really great option for desserts. So maybe you could enjoy a dessert with sliced fruit. You could always do berries alongside a few nuts, slice of cheese, Greek yogurt. There are so many different ways you can make Greek yogurt taste a lot of different ways and make it pretty tasty. Grilling in season fruits like peaches, plums, pears, apples, pineapple. And when buying frozen, canned, or dried fruit, you just want to make sure there's no added sugar because they do make unsweetened dried fruit, but they also make sweetened. So you don't need to look at the total sugar. It's just the added sugars that we want to get as close to zero. Because like typical raisins, those will have a lot of added sugar. But in these the websites I'm sending you, they all have a section to go to for these desserts. So a lot of these pictures that you're seeing, these are all linked down below. The fourth tip is eating more seafood and less meat and poultry. Just because seafood is low in saturated fat and a good source of healthy omega-3 fatty acids. We'll talk more about saturated fat, but saturated fat is the one we want less of because in large amounts can be inflammatory, raise cholesterol. The recommendation is to eat fish or shellfish 2 to 3 times a week. And if you do eat meat, we just want to stick to more of those leaner cuts in moderate portions of 3 to 4 ounces. Just because anything in excess isn't good for us. Anything in excess gets stored as fat, whether that be too much carbs, too much fat, or even too much protein. And those lean cuts of meat would be your chicken, turkey, fish and seafood, obviously, and then the red meat doing round and loin cuts. So like a sirloin, tenderloin, pork loin, or just draining the extra fat off on your ground beef. So recommended 90% lean or higher, but just really drain that fat. It's more of like the bacon, bologna, sausage, more of the processed meats that we do want to limit. You can even use small portions of meat or poultry in those grain or vegetable-based dishes that you do. And then dining out, choosing restaurants that serve seafood or plant-based options if you're dining out more of the time. Like a lot of our steakhouses, there is some sort of like shrimp or salmon or seafood option. The next step is to eat legumes often. Legumes are high in fiber, packed with nutrients, and a great source of protein. So if we're kind of doing less red meat, this is another way to get protein. And to make the protein options cheaper with the Mediterranean diet, because fish and seafood, fresh, that can be really pricey. So you're more than welcome to do that. But also, whether it's canned tuna or a frozen salmon patty, take advantage of the canned and frozen options there as well. And then legumes. A lot of our plant-based proteins like legumes, nuts, and seeds are a lot cheaper. So that's kind of a way to save money as well. So legumes can, and this means like beans, chickpeas, edamame, falafel, hummus, lentils, peanuts, split peas, tempeh, tofu, and those plant-based burgers. So kind of some tips on how to eat some more legumes. Doing cooked beans and peas, they freeze very well. So that's just kind of a nice easy grab and go. Put it in your freezer, easy to use in a soup, salad, or stir fry. I love to put peas in my salad, frozen peas in my salad. I love the taste of those. Learning ways just to kind of prepare it, trial and error. You maybe screw up some recipes, and that's okay. It's a learning curve for everyone. But learning ways to marinate, prepare tofu and tempeh. Um, my favorite way to make tofu was just to ground it up with my ground beef for tacos. Olive oil chunks in a stir fry or in a pan, and then incorporate it with quinoa and some vegetables. But kind of hiding the flavor maybe with some taco meat can be a fun way and expand your meat a lot longer. You could always try like a bean or a veggie burger. Add your favorite toppings, so with a lettuce leaf or even a whole grain bun. And then using hummus as a dip for vegetables. Instead of like ranch, you could also do like a guacamole. You could do like a Greek yogurt. But hummus is very versatile. There's lots of different flavors. You can maybe snack on unsalted or even lightly salted peanuts, edamame, roasted chickpeas, and choosing no salt added canned beans. So kind of like those vegetables, anything canned is going to have a lot of salt. So just rinse it or get that no salt added option. The tip number 6 is to replace saturated fats with healthy fats. Our healthy fats are also called unsaturated fats. And those unsaturated fats are oils and fatty foods that are high in unsaturated fats and low in saturated fats. So, extra virgin olive oil is the primary fat they used in cooking, baking, marinating, and in salad dressings. And it's also really common to dip bread in olive oil rather than butter. And sometimes I prefer it. It tastes a lot better because, as you can see in the picture, it's not just straight olive oil. You really got to doctor it up and add some good herbs and spices. You can kind of see the picture to the right. If you want to use olive oil in the bottle, fantastic. But they're like a Pam spray, that olive oil spray. You could also use one of those just to kind of, not get it so oil heavy if like you're making scrambled eggs. You don't maybe want to use the liquid olive oil in your skillet. So kind of spraying it with that. All your oils are fantastic. They do a lot more olive oil, but you are good to do avocado oil, canola oil, sunflower oil, safflower oil, and other vegetable oils. Anything liquid at room temperature, that's how it flows in your arteries. So you think about all those oils, you look at the bottle, it's liquid. Anything solid at room temp, that's kind of how it sits in your arteries, and it can just clog them up in large amounts. So butter, salt at room temp, bacon fat solidifies, lard, things like that. Fatty fish is a great way for some healthy unsaturated fats like salmon, herring, sardines, mackerel, trout, oysters, mussels, and white albacore tuna. Nuts and seeds. All your nuts and seeds are great for you, just taste bud preference. So that could be walnuts, almonds, cashews, pecans, peanuts. There's ground flaxseed, chia seed, hemp seed, sesame seeds, sunflower seeds, and also your avocados, olives, peanut butter, and any oil-based salad dressing will still provide you with those. So try to use those liquid oils for cooking in place of those solid fats like butters, margarines, or lard. You could always maybe sprinkle nuts and seeds on your cereal, on your yogurt, any grain-based dishes or salads. It gives it a nice little texture as well and more protein. You could always replace processed sandwich meats with more of like a tuna salad, an egg salad, a salmon, avocado, or peanut butter. You could always mash avocado on a sandwich in place of cheese. I like to do a lot of hummus as well. And maybe you replace a processed snack, food like chips or crackers, with a small handful of almond or olives or unsalted nuts or seeds. The 7th tip is to eat dairy and eggs in moderation. Plain Greek yogurt is another staple there, and small amounts of flavorful natural cheese are a regular part of a Mediterranean diet. And the reason a lot of people recommend Greek yogurt and it's become a lot more popular is because Greek yogurt goes through a straining process that leaves with more protein and less sugar than regular yogurt. And if you just don't like the taste of Greek yogurt, there's a lot of ways you can change it up. But if you're still just not a fan, don't worry about it. You don't have to eat it. Doing more of a regular yogurt and just get it a plain, and maybe sweeten it yourself a little bit. Eggs are a great source of protein, and they don't raise your cholesterol whatsoever. I know at one point we thought that eggs rose cholesterol, not the case. But still moderation of eggs, just because moderation of all things. And adding a glass of low or non-fat milk can boost calcium and vitamin D content of your foods. And if you prefer more of a plant-based milk like soy milk, you just want to choose one that has protein, calcium, vitamin D, and no added sugar. So there's a lot of like oat milks out there. They tend to have a lot of added sugar, no protein. Soy milk has a little bit of protein. Almond milk just has no carbs, no protein. It's just kind of more water with a little bit of fat. So maybe you have to replace the protein elsewhere in that meal if you're doing more of a plant-based milk. And then number 8, choosing beverages that are good for you. We just want to make the switch to more unsweetened beverages, really to limit added sugar, but make that gradual shift. We don't need to make all these crazy changes at once. So just that gradual shift to a healthier drink, whether that's just plain water, or it can be a sparkling water. Unsweetened tea and coffee, there's no added sugar here, and are perfectly fine to enjoy. They just don't count towards our water. So still wanting to have your water on top of those things. And 100% fruit juice in moderation is okay. We do recommend eating the whole fruit just because there's more nutrients and fiber. But if you're going to do any juice, 100% fruit juice is the best option. And I would say when you're in the juice aisle next, take a peek at them because they're kind of hard to find, or there's less of them, there's more of the other stuff. A lot of our juices say 5% juice and it's just a bunch of added sugar. So 100% fruit juices, like 100% cranberry juice, apple juice, orange juice should have no added sugar. But experiment with infusing maybe a plain water or infusing a sparkling water with small amounts of that fruit juice if you're not a big artificial sweetener person. That way it's kind of that natural sweetness, but you don't have that aftertaste. But using any of those artificial sweeteners are fine to give you that sweetness, but help you drink more water. Other natural ways include slices of lemon, lime, orange, cucumber, melon, crushed berries, or crushed mint. This is a nice little graph to help us determine if we're getting enough water. We generally recommend by saying start with about 8 cups a day, 64 ounces. But everyone has different hydration needs, so the urine color is the best way to go. So you can see on that 1 to 2, first one, pale, odorless, plentiful urine usually means that you're well hydrated, so keep drinking at that same rate. 3 to 4, you are mildly dehydrated, so slightly darker urine, you need to drink a glass of water now. 5 to 6, that medium dark yellow urine means that you are dehydrated, so drink maybe 2 to 3 glasses of water now. And that's 7 to 8, darker, strong smelling urine in small amounts, or urine in small amounts can be a sign of dehydration. So make sure you have a really good glass of water if you can. So this is really what I would go by for water intake. And a glass of wine with a meal is very common over there. If you drink wine, drink in moderation. And that looks like 1 glass for women and 2 glasses for men a day. And then a glass would be considered 1.5 ounces of liquor, 5 ounces of wine, 12 ounces of beer. And if you do drink wine, switching to red wine has more antioxidants, resveratrol in it than the white wine. But if you do not drink, it's not recommended to start drinking. But that is something they do over there that you can incorporate. So to really kind of pull all this together, so definitely went through some options on how to incorporate it in, but how to kind of, yeah, bring it all together. And so we want to eat a variety of foods at mealtime and build a balanced meal, build a balanced snack. And so that looks like having some sort of high fiber carbohydrate with a lean protein, or eating that high fiber carb with an unsaturated fat. So just to kind of review a little bit here, carbohydrates are those whole grains, beans, legumes, fruits, those starchy vegetables. So those peas, corn, potatoes, and winter squash. We do need carbs because that's that primary energy for the body. And then you have your protein, like your meat, fish and seafood, eggs, beans, dairy, nuts, seeds, peanut butter, nut butters, tofu, tempeh, edamame. We do need protein in the diet because it's required for that tissue repair, building lean muscle mass, immune system function, keeping us full, so on and so forth. Lots of important things. Pretty much the basic building blocks for everything in our body. And then we still need fats like oils, nuts, seeds, avocados, slow burning source of energy, and helps us absorb all these important vitamins and minerals while keeping us full. And so the reason we kind of want to pair them together is carbs are great. Carbs give you energy, but carbs don't keep us full. So the more higher fiber ones, a little bit more filling, but still it's not a very filling food. That's where protein and fat come in. They're going to provide you with a lot more filling, but they're not giving you that immediate source of energy. So that's kind of where we maybe want to do some grapes and some cheese, or maybe we want to do some carrots and some hummus, or some meat and potatoes. So it's really kind of how we can get that variety and that balance in. Plus, it keeps our portions in check, so we're not just filling up on one food. And to kind of talk about how often we should eat. So generally recommend to eat every 2 to 5 hours during the day. We want to listen to our body. If we're hungry, I want you to eat. That's your body physically telling you, I need more nutrition. I'm hungry. Because if we only ignore that and deprive ourselves, we're just going to overeat later. But if you're full, you certainly don't have to finish. So it's kind of the fine line of, I want you to listen to your body, but kind of keep in mind we should be eating every 2 to 5 hours, because maybe it's a crazy busy work day and we went 8 hours without eating and we didn't even realize it. But then we tend to be really ravenous as soon as we think about food. So this can be 3 meals, no snacks. It could be 2 meals, 2 snacks, 4 moderate size meals, 6 small meals. It really doesn't matter. It's just, when do you get hungry and what works best for you? Because the goal is to fuel and nourish our body and our brain. We can't just not eat. So it's how can I feel better, and just how can I make more nutritious options versus just not having a snack or not eating this. Plus, we often eat a lot faster when we're super hungry, and then we tend to get full quickly. Snack with purpose. This is the big thing with the Mediterranean diet is snacks are fine. It's just what are we having as a snack? So this could be a great way to do more fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. And taking time with your meals. Lots of benefits with this one, because relaxing, enjoying conversation with family and friends while you eat, something they do over there. They'll spend hours at a restaurant. But also it gives your brain and your stomach time to communicate. A lot of times when we eat too fast, it takes time for your brain and stomach to say, oh, hey, we're full, and then we're stuffed and we don't feel great. So not only taking time gives us a mental health benefit of, conversations with friends and family, but it's also a form of portion control. And so the plate method can help us monitor portion sizes, tell us what foods to have on our plate. There's a couple different variations of the plate method on there. This is the version I would recommend with the Mediterranean diet, where you make a fourth of your plate fruit, a fourth vegetables, non-starchy vegetables, and then you would do about a fourth of your plate grains, a fourth protein, and you can always add a serving of low-fat dairy on the side. So not that your plate needs to look like this every single day all the time, but it's kind of a nice visual to remind us to still get a variety of foods in, where to even begin with portions. But you can always use it like a checklist. You can't always section your food to perfectly do that. But let's say you maybe make a quinoa-based salad. You could do quinoa for your grain, shrimp for your protein, maybe some zucchini and bell peppers as your vegetable. and then having fruit for that dessert with maybe Greek yogurt. So you're still kind of getting a variety of all those things, but it's not necessarily sectioned off like that. Staying active is really important. A little bit different here than over there in those countries. I think one of the big things is just the way their cities are set up, their countries are set up. People do more walking, biking for methods of transportation. You know, if they need to go somewhere, they'll ride the bike, they'll walk. They got to walk to the bus. Versus we use a lot more cars here, and a lot of our places are farther apart. So they just tend to be more active in general. So because we're just set up a little bit differently here in America, we maybe need to be a little extra mindful on ways to incorporate just more activity in our day. Because being active can help lower your risk for chronic diseases, promote a healthy weight, boost your mood. It's a great way to manage stress, keep your mind and body feeling good. And the goal is about 150 minutes a week, 30 minutes, 5 days a week. But you want to move your body in a way that makes you feel good. And that can make you feel more positive about your health and reduce stress. Because if we're really stressed, that's not going to be good for our health as well. So I want you to find exercise that you enjoy, not something that's going to bring on more stress. Because all movement's good movement. It's just, finding those ways you can move your body that you enjoy. So whether it's taking the stairs somewhere, whether it's taking an extra aisle at the grocery store, whether it's taking a longer route to go to the bathroom just to step away from your desk. So it can be just an extra minute or two here and there that you're getting that movement. It doesn't all have to be at once. Love this slide just because it helps us remember why exercise is important. And it's not just mainly maybe I'm trying to lose weight. So it's trying to shift our mindset elsewhere too, because it's going to help with increased bone strength, increased stress tolerance, blood pressure, reduce risk for many types of chronic diseases, heart and lung strength, increased metabolism, better appetite regulation, improved mood and memory, better sleep at night, more energy, improved balance, and many more things. So just to kind of give you some ideas on how to be more active: yoga, walk, stretch, bike, yard work, water aerobics, online workout videos. And that's key right now with this horrible weather we're having. So, maybe you need to get outside in this really negative degree weather. Parking further away from that grocery store, or just maybe taking the extra aisles when you get inside, maybe park closer so you're stay warm. Taking the stairs versus the elevator, using stretchy bands, chair exercises. And stretchy bands and chair exercises are great just with mobility issues or any like joint pain, playing a sport and dancing. So we have gone through a lot today. And so that's why I'm glad you guys will be getting this PowerPoint. But just to kind of summarize, those 8 great ways to incorporate the Mediterranean diet could be loading your plate with lots of vegetables, making the most of those whole grains, enjoying fruit for dessert, eating more seafood and less meat and poultry, eating legumes often, replace saturated fats with those unsaturated healthy fats, eat dairy foods and eggs in moderation, and choosing those beverages that are good for you. So with all of this, we want to make those lifestyle changes. We don't want to do something that, may or may not work short term. So I don't want you to go full blown, start eating Mediterranean diet. So it's really how we can make those small and gradual changes. Because nutrition is not a one size fits all approach. Everyone's different. So find what works best for you. Remember grace and gratitude, and focus on progress, not perfection. Because we don't have to have a perfect diet to be healthy, and we're human and no one's perfect. But that change occurs slowly. So when setting goals, a good place to start is setting about 1 to 3 goals for yourself. It forces you to kind of take things slow, not get so overwhelmed with everything. So 1 thing, plenty. If you want to go up to 3, great. But we just talked about 8 tips. So maybe pick anywhere from 1 to 3 of those things. And we talked about other things that, like exercise and hydration that aren't on these 8. So you don't need to do all these things at once. And whenever you're adding goals, make sure you're adding something in, not taking anything away. So if your goal is to eat less chips for a snack, don't just say, I'm not going to snack. maybe it's I'm going to do some fruit and some nuts for my snack instead. And what's healthy for you is also healthy for your whole family. It's just sometimes if they're on board or they want to eat those things, that's maybe another hiccup, but it's healthy for the whole family. So these are the recipes, websites to check out. All these are by dietitians. And so, yeah, they have like breakfast, lunch, dinner ideas, just really great articles for more information and a lot of fun dessert recipes. Awesome. Well, thank you guys. I'll be taking some questions now, but if you have any questions after today, call me, email me. Don't hesitate to reach out. And if you ever want to come see a dietitian for more one-on-one counseling, education, all you need is an order from your doctor. We do people telehealth in person. So just need to get that doctor order. Okay.
All right, well, we've got a number of questions here.
Love
The
it. Let's hear it.
The first one, have you ever heard of a low oxalate diet? Some people cannot tolerate vegetables, nuts, or seeds.
Yes. So with the low oxalate diet, I've seen this with kidney stones. A lot of doctors say like go on a low oxalate diet so you don't get kidney stones. And so with a low oxalate diet, it actually recommends don't exclude oxalates in fruits and vegetables. The internet just doesn't do a great job of providing those resources. So I would say if you would like some more information, just reach out because we have some kind of legit great resources here. But that is one of the things that you don't need to restrict the fruits and vegetables because there's so many other benefits. And this is another good point, so there are some eating plans where you can't maybe have some of these foods. So it's just maybe taking other parts of the Mediterranean diet and doing those that you can.
Okay, someone asks, what about iron supplements?
Good question. I recommend supplements based off your blood work. So if your iron's low, talk to your doctor. They'll recommend what type of iron, how much, and how often to take it. But if your iron's not low, or if your B12 is not low, there's no reason in taking extra. So I would talk to your doctor.
Someone says, what about an explanation of whole grains when you need gluten-free?
Great question. So this is where you have your quinoa, great gluten-free whole grain. So yeah, we got quinoa, we got brown rice, we got potatoes, the peas, the lentils, the beans, those are all gluten-free. And you can also get gluten-free whole grain bread and get gluten-free oats. So those are some great ways to still get those whole grains in.
Is coconut oil healthy?
Good question. No, it is not. So coconut oil is a saturated fat. So if you look at the back, it is containing saturated fat or that solid at room temperature. So that is the only oil I would recommend limiting. So all those other oils are fine to use. So if you want to use that, then I would say just use it sparingly.
Let's see. Do higher fiber carbohydrates have higher TDEE?
Ooh, what is that? Will you leave another message with TDE? I don't know what that is.
And then while we're waiting, I'll go to the
Uh-huh.
next one.
Yeah.
Can we get plenty of complete protein by combining some of the non-meat options?
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's not completely cutting out your meat. It's just they live on the coast. So they're more likely to, have access to the fish and seafood over there versus we don't live on a coast here in the Midwest. So, definitely combine the two. I mentioned tacos earlier. I'm a taco fanatic. Is to combine the tofu, or I love to do a can of beans with my meat as well. So it kind of stretches both of them, and so you could always. I just did a white chicken chili, and I just did a can of beans with my chicken. So you can always combine the two.
Um, okay. So then thermic effect, not
Oh, the
is
thermogenic effect. Oh, I've heard about this before. I can't remember exactly. what I can't remember. I know I've heard of that before. I'll have to kind of maybe do some digging. I would say if you want to maybe email me, so I have your contact information and I can certainly get back to you. But let me go back to that original question. I don't want to tell you something wrong because I can't remember the specifics of it. Yeah, Sammy, just give me an email and we can figure that out for you.
Someone asks, do you recommend intermittent fasting?
Yeah, so really to answer this question, there's multiple levels of intermittent fasting. Whether people do a 12-hour fast, 14, 16, 18, just general healthy eating, your body needs about a 12-hour fast in general, whether you call it healthy eating or intermittent fasting, same thing. I would say it's really dependent on someone's medical conditions. If just general, weight loss, healthy eating, it's just whatever you enjoy. So some people find that it just doesn't work for them. Some people find that it does. So if you're kind of hitting your health goals, you're feeling good, your labs look good, fantastic. But maybe if an 18 hour is too much, maybe try like a 12 or a 14 hour. The only time I would use caution with intermittent fasting is if you have diabetes, just because going long periods without eating can mess with our blood sugars, whether it's too low or too high of a blood sugar. So they say you can fast if your blood sugars are under control.
And yes, someone asked about the links. I'll be sending out the handouts, so you'll be able to copy and paste the links from there.
Yes.
Where do you get
Oh,
chicken recipes?
any of those websites. That's a good one. Another one is another website I go to for a lot of just different things. They're called the Real Food Dietitians, therealfoodrds.com. And you can just type in chicken, it'll populate every chicken recipe. Same thing with all those ones I gave you. It may be a little bit less chicken based since it's more Mediterranean. But I would say any of the ones today are the Real Food Dietitians and just search chicken.
And then someone put turmeric ?
Yeah, turmeric has some great anti-inflammatory properties. So not that you need to take pill form, but just adding it to your foods. All your herbs and spices are kind of a great way to add flavor, reduce the sodium, and provide you with some different anti-inflammatory properties.
Okay.
Awesome.
Let's see. I was told you need extra protein if you are weightlifting. Is this true? I've also read you can be vegan and gain muscle.
Yeah, both are true. So you do need extra protein if you're weightlifting. I would say the amount of just nutrition anyone needs, but specifically protein is going to vary based on age. So the older that we get, the more protein we need, but also the more active we are. And so if you want to do this calculation, you can take your weight to get it in kilograms, you divide it by 2.2. And then if you're weightlifting, about 1.2 to 1.4 grams of protein for every kilogram of body weight. Generally, people need anywhere from 0.8 to 1 gram a kilogram. So you do need a little bit more. And then what was the second part? Vegan. Yeah, you can definitely be vegan and gain muscle. I mean, definitely, we talked a lot more about plant-based proteins today. So if you're doing more beans, nuts, seeds, and those like more plant-based burgers, it's definitely possible. And there's a lot of really delicious vegan protein shakes too, just to kind of help fill in that gap so you're not just getting burnt out on some of those protein options.
I will be emailing out the handouts, which include those links following the program, along with the link to the survey. I've also put that in chat if you want to click on the link and fill it out. And then we're going to wrap up with one last question here. How do we get complete protein from non-meat options?
I would say still enjoying your meats occasionally if you want to, or supplements can sometimes provide you with a little bit more of that. And then Which nuts are best? So I actually did a whole deep dive into this. Research is inconclusive if there's like one nut that's better than another. All your nuts are good. Kind of like the fruits and vegetables. Just get a variety and also taste bud preference and budget preference too. Because peanuts are typically tend to be cheaper, but there's not one that's better than another.
All right. Well, thank you, Lindsay. And like I said, I will email out the handouts along with the link to the survey following the program here. It has been recorded, and once it is available on our YouTube channel, we will send out the link to registrants. So thank you, everybody, for coming. Thank you, Lindsay, again for a great program. Lots of great information, and we hope you'll join us for some future programs.
You're welcome. Bye.
Have a good evening.